All right. All right, guys. Okay, good morning. All right, everyone. Okay. So here it is. Okay, we actually right in week 9, sessions 2. So today, basically, I'm going to go through first with maybe some of the works that you guys have been working on. Okay, the progression for our last kind of projects. Okay, for these animations, kind of what we call that fundamentals, right? What we can see, okay, here you actually have given us basically the her idea, okay, based on the short animation in 15 seconds.
I actually like drew like a rough storyboard, but I put it in week 10 lah. This is just like a rough plot also.
It's okay, right? If you have the
Yeah.
visual, right, okay, it's more better there, right?
You
Okay,
can go to week 10 and see I submitted in week 10.
you can.
Mm.
Okay. Why don't you combine together in this big kind of progressions there, right?
Because I don't know if that one counts as a storyboard or not.
If is it going if it's going to be a rough
It's just
ideas or
like
sketches there, right? It can be a
uh
part of the progression for the week 9 because
oh
normally when I actually work with the writing itself there, right? So I'm going to add also the visuals, okay, to support those content there.
okay.
All right. I think it's okay there, right? Okay. As long as when you actually animate them later on, okay, you can emphasize a bit more on the exaggerations, right? Okay, the
Mm.
stress and squash at the same time, right? Just make fun of these characters there, okay? Those are the most
Okay.
important thing that I want to see from your the whole kind of presentations there, right?
Okay. I wanna
Okay.
ask, right?
Mm.
Does the background have to be illustrated?
It's up to you,
Up to me, yeah. Okay.
right? Yeah. If you actually can give a few suggestions, right? If you draw the background, how it's going to be look like, right? I'm not expecting sometimes with this kind of animations, right, okay, that you are going to draw a very solid, detailed kind of background, depending there. But if you're going to focus on the more the characters there, the backgrounds are going to be the supporting elements there to make the composition a little bit more presentative kind of look, more appealing there, right, okay? And the other things that normally when for me, I can understand, okay, whether if the student put an efforts, okay, if the animators especially, right, okay, put the efforts more on the animations, that means the
Mm.
background sometimes going to be a little bit more subtle, more kind of just a part of the supporting element
Mm.
there, right, okay. But
Because I was
as a
thinking of like taking like an actual picture of my desk lah.
mm,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it can be, but if you actually put the actual photos, okay,
Mm.
to compose with the characters, uh,
Mhm.
just bear in mind that you need to add a bit kind of shadows, right? Okay, the
Oh,
tough
okay.
shadows there, right, at the center. Otherwise, the whole presentation look a bit more awkward, lah, because of the characters look like floatings, doesn't actually attach to the environment itself, there, right? No matter
Oh,
how
okay.
simplified the backgrounds you're going to use, right, okay, when you
Mm.
add the characters inside, make sure you add the shadow at the same time there, cast shadows there, that
Okay.
represent the character is not floating. Okay,
Okay.
that kind of thing you have to test first in a single kind of page there. Okay,
Okay.
all right. So at least you got two or three kind of still images that you actually try first, right, okay, as a part of your experiments, okay, with the backgrounds, and then you decide again whether you're going to use uh, which kind of background for your works there, okay? And
Okay.
if you want to make the presentation, your kind of efforts look a bit more like a bit kind of you into the presentation, right? Okay, you want the best way is because if you use the same background, right? We are
Mm.
not going to change the background there, right? Right. The best way, yeah, you have three background, for example, you just place back again to your animations, the same animations, then you can actually submit it at the same times, right?
Okay.
Those are basically some of the simple efforts that can actually, it might going to give a little bit extra marks from there, right? For your
Mm.
presentation. Okay, remember that, guys, the tips there. All right. If you have put a lot of efforts in animations, right, you have show most of the principles, right, that understanding from those animations kind of works, right? Then you have three different kind of ideas there. For example, the background itself, okay, like what I actually discussed with you here. If you want to give also, right, because this kind of thing you just copy paste only, right, and then you render them back and submit the right. It's a part of the way you can actually write buy those evaluators kind of hearts, right, okay, they show your commitment on the works there. Those basically a very simple kind of tips that I can give you guys just to touch other people's hearts directly when it comes to submit your works there. But make sure that you put your extra effort on the animations there first, because people will be amazed with the motion itself there. No matter how good or bad your character is, sometimes people will close their eyes, half their eyes directly, just to see the motions there. So those are the most important thing about animation. It's not all about characters all the time there, right? But the way that you present your characters, the way you present and also give people more options there, right? Okay, options there. So people will repeat, take a look at your kind of motions, so okay, even in 50 seconds, they just like and addicted there, right? Okay? So those kind of emotion feelings you have to capture, right? You have to plan them back, right? Okay, before your presentations there, okay? Don't be too right, okay lah, it's finished, okay? Okay, I just submit the right, okay? Put some extra effort from it, because when I talk about what I want to see one single background, because one of the presentation before this, Raki, in 50 seconds they try to play with a few number kind of scenes or shots there, okay? I won't allow them because around 50 seconds, there's nothing much basically you can actually do to change the scene there, okay? Unless you have another 30 seconds, kind of what we call that presentations there, or 40 seconds there, okay, depending there. But 15 seconds, nothing much, okay, about the background there, okay. Background only a part of the compositions that show basically you really understand how to arrange your characters in the right kind of positions there. And also you can show also your capability to develop or to design your own background, or you can use different kind of styles to approach your background already. For photography, for sometimes, okay, if you can add a little bit kind of image manipulations kind of understanding there. For example, you create a very photo collage kind of what we call that background, even though you use the same kind of background, for example, your desk, your working kind of areas there, okay, but you add some extra kind of elements there, object there, okay, that want to show a little bit kind of make it more interesting on those presentations. Or sometimes, for example, right, if I'm going to use a different kind of background there, right, okay, I would change some of the color scheme there, right, okay, to make the whole presentation a bit more kind of like the characters are going to be a bit kind of uh, attached into those characters, into the background at the same time, so it can be there. For example, let's say I'm going to use these photos there. This one, wait up. Okay. For example, there, right? This get one character solution. Mm, that is okay. These characters there. Can I copy paste there? Right. Okay, let's just say that. Okay, this is something that I always do when it comes to do some sort of compositions there first. Concepts, kind of visuals, okay, for my animations there. Okay, so I'm going to export this image, right, normally. Uh, okay, maybe put it at the end there. But basically, I put this background just now. Kind of lost there, I could have found there. Okay, put over here. Right, let's just, I'm going to put into PNG. All right, so one. So this is something that I always do there, right? Okay, normally I'm going to do that, right? I'm going to take these characters, put it all copy and paste over here. Oh, I didn't color the body there, right? We can do it later on. So this is something that I normally do there, okay? I just put it over here first. Colors over here. And normally directly. So if I have the background, let's just say I'm going to use this background directly, but the background is a little bit kind of like very dark directly. What I can do, oops, not this one. I'm going to reduce a little bit. This is one of the way, right? This is one of the way. If I use a grayscale kind of background there, and the shadows directly, I'm going to try to apply different kind of way of shadows. Maybe I'm going to use very simple kind of shapes of shadows over here like this. Okay, and of course the shadows there is I'm going to use a pure black or gray, and I'm going to reduce opacities there. As long as I can give the attachments, okay, the characters with the backgrounds, okay, at the same time, it can be, okay, this is one of the way. If I'm going to use the color background, for example, like this one, all right, just like we saw from, what we call that, one of the animated series there, Gumball there, right? Gumball, all right, okay. So they use entirely, they actually recreate those background there, okay? Recreate those backgrounds, they use photo collage, they draw sometimes, right? They combine with some of the photos there and put into 3D elements also at the same time, okay? They mix them up, okay? It can be, right? So those are the things that basically will help you to give a bit kind of senses of flexibilities on your presentations there, on your concept of your concept of your styles of the animations at the same time there, right? Okay, so those are the things can be done there, okay, as long as the perspective is right there, right? Okay? Those are the things. Do you get what I mean, right? Check back again, the perspective there, okay. The size between the characters and also the background has to be a little bit more logic there, right? It doesn't have to be purely logic, okay, but it has to be logic, okay, and also they looks a bit kind of believable there, okay, okay, the characters inside the background there. There's a few number kind of ideas that normally that sometimes you can see some from the animation there, okay, they use this kind of method. They use when they edit those kind of animations, okay, either in After Effects, for example, there, right? They kind of use this kind of layers there, adjustment layers there, okay. Uh, they will basically just use some gradients, for example, like this one. Oops. Background, the gradients over here. So light, dark. Example, like this one there, right? Huh? Color backgrounds are right here. And okay, for example, there right here, it's going to be low like this. That's a bit more, and then you actually adjust it to multiply, right, or overlay there, right? Okay, because After Effects has this kind of what we call that features there, right? Okay, you can play around with it. Okay, you kind of want to have there's a kind of artificial kind of shadows there, okay, for your characters there, right? Okay, other than just flat surface like this one there, right? Uh, there's a certain kind of animations they use this kind of methods that to work, okay, when they have the final editing there. But depending there, okay, but if you want to do some final editing, normally you have to separate the layers there, separate the layers, and then you compose everything in After Effects, okay? You not use purely in Flash, okay? But if you want to use Flash, it's a bit kind of tricky there, okay? That's why they use a lot of final editing kind of composition from there. Okay, so they kind of look a bit kind of, yeah, a little bit kind of, they blend basically in these environments there. It can be there, right? Okay, but this is the concept, the idea that you have, but you have to know how you're going to execute or arrange them back in other different kind of applications there. Okay, those are the things that will basically will manage your work more better. Okay, but for these submissions, we don't have to go through that kind of what we call that editings there, right? Okay, but if you want to work it later on to experiment them later on, okay, for your own kind of final presentation on your FYP kind of works, go ahead there, okay, because you guys actually have learned a bit kind of using After Effects there, right? You guys can experiment them, okay. So this is what basically I've done. Okay, just to give some ideas. Okay, I have one kind of particular kind of presentation or samples like this that I can use, okay, for my uh, animations kind of concept works there, right? Mm, okay, so if I have this one, it could test basically my kind of understanding on the works. Right, the second one I'm going to be use, okay, let's just say this background, for example, there, right, can be, right. So if I'm interested different kind of ideas that works like that, I can use drawing methods there, right? To very simplified drawing methods directly. So it can be there, right? Okay. So I can use drawing methods like either using Flash or I can use Photoshop that works as I actually have show you guys before there, right? But some of the presentations that I saw directly, they can use also very simple kind of line like this one there, right? Drawing line there. It can be, right? But you have to test first, right? Okay, whether these kind of styles were suitable for your works or not, right? Or you can actually redesign and recreate your own kind of backgrounds if you want to, right? It's up to you guys there, right? You can use those illustrations kind of understanding, right, okay, on your works that to develop your kind of way of working there, right? If I use this kind of very simple kind of background like this one, the color kind of combination also going to be a little bit kind of simplified there, right? If I'm going to use a very stylized kind of colored styles here. Okay, so if I add the layers, too much, right? So something like this, and then I can add a little bit kind of my own kind of shadows there, right? Like this, and paste. Then I'm going to multiply, for example, directly, depending directly how actually you're going to execute them there, right? So you have to develop this kind of concept, kind of design there, okay? But not basically like a concept art for movies, but a bit more kind of very stylized, okay, for animations there, because the emphasization on your kind of presentations, basically for your animations there, okay? So that's why the backgrounds can be a supporting elements. The presentation a little bit more kind of what we call that manageable, can be valued as a part of your understanding and develop your kind of works directly at the same time there, right? Those are the things that is all depending directly on your concept of your works directly, how it works. But the backgrounds normally I kind of love to see that okay it's not actually been overdue, but at the same time can be what we call that can be linked together with the characters there, right? Uh, for example, right, okay, like if I can actually give a little bit kind of suggestions there. Okay, when I look at back again, okay, to you from your presentations there, right, okay. The most kind of worry that I have basically, right, okay, from with me kind of presentations, but she doesn't respond, so I just give some sort of like uh, my kind of explanation from here, right? Even though let's just say you cannot draw, for example, you have the very weak kind of drawing skills there, right? But you have to basically okay, consult and also explain to me, right? Okay, and show basically or give some sort of ideas, okay? Because I always assume that okay, because if I look at this kind of drawings, what I always assume is simple, okay? Whether you don't sketch it out first, you don't plan first your ideas before you want to draw them, right? You just direct draw basically from whatever that you have in your mind. You cannot actually right apply the things that sometimes I show you guys directly because but even though basically I actually have given you guys also some examples there before you want to do this, you have to sketch first. This is the way that you actually draw first, right? Okay? This is how actually you're going to manage first, right? Okay? And you have to go through with that kind of process, right? Okay? Because if I take a look at this composition, for example, right, it's just like you just draw them out from your spontaneous kind of understanding that you don't plan basically the foundations, okay, for your drawings there, right? You don't do enough kind of studies there, okay, on your skill itself, okay? And the other way, actually, right, okay, that I always assume you don't actually get enough reference there, right? Before you're going to draw trees, uh, what you call that, uh, placement basically the sun there, right? Okay, and the bench, the shadows, the details there, right? You just simply draw there, right? You understand what I mean there, right? Simply draw there, right? You don't plan there, right? Because if I basically want to plan back again what I should do for my works there, right? I already told you guys before. I already showed you guys also at the same time there. Mm, Brush, right? Simple kind of drawings here first. Sketch. You don't just draw like this one there, right? If you use tablet there, right? You just don't simply draw like this one there, okay? If I start to draw like this, I just try to adapt what children are going to be think when they draw there, okay? They don't actually think enough there, okay? They just draw whatever that they have in mind there, okay? Like that. This is basically what children are doing there. But this one basically I saw from normally from 4 years old, maybe, right, okay, to sometimes, okay, 15 years old there. Normally, they're right. They will draw like this one, okay. Even though my kids, they're right. I actually teach them also a few kind of tricks, okay, just like you guys there, but not basically quite very more. It's more like a very playing around, okay, with them. Okay, I didn't actually put some stress on those techniques there, but I just asked them, okay, you want to draw circles before you add some details. Simple as that. But for you guys who actually write around, even though you cannot draw, if you say you didn't have any drawing skills there, but can you sign your name? Can you sign your name there, right? Hmm? Can that right? If you can sign your name there, right? Okay, that means you can draw. Or do you sign your name like this one there, right? When using pen, ask yourself back again. If you seems to use pencil or pen to sign your name like this, that means you have some sort of mental disorder lah. Right? Okay, guys. Remember, okay, if you can sign your name confidently, okay, that means you can draw. Right? Sometimes people sign their name, okay, like this one, right? Right, okay, or like this one, right? That means basically you can draw, right? Build up those confidence from there. So it's a matter of when you sign your name, you have actually remember directly. You have actually memorized that you know what kind of shapes or line that you're going to construct based on your hands with your mind directly. You actually have this kind of picture, kind of images directly that you actually can imagine in your mind directly. Same goes like tree directly or elements there. Use a very simple kind of shapes first, right? Okay? If you want to draw tree like a very detailed kind of thing, yes, right? Okay? You will come out with a very complex kind of shapes that you might going to have problem to imagine that. For me, basic shapes there first. The way that I actually right construct it, right? Okay? Basic shapes there first. Whatever that you have in mind, one single stroke at the same time there, right? If you want to draw some trees. Right. This one look like a children's kind of drawings there, but when you use lasso tools, right? I believe that with me, basically use lasso tool there, right? You just draw them the shapes, but you improvise them back and then color them back there, right? Add new layers first. Sorry. And then press a little bit your line. Press a bit your pen, don't too much there, right? Don't break your pen there, right? And then color them back. It's fine. Put over there. Right? we put actually right on the different side there. So what you can do from here, yeah, select them, or you can duplicate them if you want to, right? Or maybe, yes, alternate. Let's just say the shapes, right here, like that, for example, there. The shadow came from, the light came over here, shadows will fall off to the left side there, right? Copy and paste, okay? And then try to multiply. You can see the shadows there, right? Right. There's a lot of way basically, okay, but if you understand, okay, how to communicate with the shadows there, okay, if the what we call that, the sunlight or the source of light came from the right side, left side are going to be the shadows going to be fall off there. I'm trying to give you guys some examples how to execute your kind of way of presentations over here. Okay, let's just, I'm going to use uh, purple there, right, okay, for the shadows there. At the same time, I'm going to reduce the opacities there, right? And what if I'm going to use the ground there, okay? What color of the ground there with me? With me? Are you here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. Take a look there, okay? The browns there, right? So even though I'm using purples, I can actually write manage to reduce the opacity there first, just to blend it up. But if you use green color, for example, there, okay, also can be managed there, right? It can be, depending there. But as long as you use layers there. So right now, if I'm going to copy this one, then I'm going to scale a little bit at the size. Right? They look a little bit kind of the same, but different kind of sizes there. Basically, I show you guys how to play tricks with a simple kind of idea to develop the background there. Sometimes we have to be, the knowledge has to be there, right? Okay. But of course, you have to experiment also at the same time there, okay? This one, basically, right, okay, I just simply work on that. But I don't think it's quite nice for my own kind of way of presenting the shadows there. But if I want to make a bit more difference from here, you know what I can do? I play with some of the patterns there. Because I already select the color just now, right? I already combine the layers there, right? Just to give a different kind of, but this kind of what we call that experimentation therapy, you need to go into more, you have to spend more time to watch some of the animations that you saw, or images directly you can see from the Google directly when you actually browse some of the samples reference there, right? You can find a lot of good kind of what we call that ideas from there, right? One of the way basically I actually draw trees, I just draw one of the leaves there, right? It shapes of the leaves there. For example, like this one, okay? And then what I can do to draw tree, right? Mm, I kind of use brush tools there. Okay. Then some of the times, right? I'm going to use, okay, another layers brush. I don't know whether the new Photoshop have the kind of brushes that I want basically for the textures there. I always love to create textures there, right? Don't know whether we have here. Kind of like this one, uh, but if I tap there, right, okay, like this, okay, tap like this one there, right? You can hear my kind of tablet, right, okay, but I'm not tapping that kind of tablets quite hard there. But this is one of the way that I create the textures, and then I multiply. Then we can see basically the different kind of textures over here. overdo a bit there, right? This is some of the things that I basically use to make my kind of elements for the backgrounds a bit more look more like a very kind of what we call that like we do a lot of hard works from there that people will might say that, hey, how actually you do this one? Are you using masking or not? Like, I'm not using masking there. I'm using some selections over here. Why do you don't use masking? Because easy for me or here for me to move around the elements later on there, right? There, what I can do, I can actually merge them up, and then I'm going to use draw one single kind of what we call that to portray right the shapes of those uh, log directly, all those three there, right? What is this? Yeah. Then the other way right that I can do from here is I can just brush back again, and I can actually use some shadows lah, right? Shadows a bit over here there. I need to do some selections over here. Off selections directly. If I off selections over here, right, I'm going to create some selections over here, for example, then I can actually create some shadows line there, right? Shadow shapes there. Small things that we actually do, okay, that sometimes you say, only small thing there, okay, it doesn't actually affect anything for the presentation. Basically, they will give a lot of huge kind of impact on your presentations there. Those kind of details there, right? Those kind of details. People will recognize them. Don't worry there. That's why all this kind of preparing for the elements sometimes really, really important there when it comes to develop your understanding to develop background. I did not actually write, even though I've done a few kind of backgrounds like for the previous kind of productions there, right? But I didn't actually put myself as it's as like architectures there, right? Or kind of uh, designers there, right? Okay? I'm looking myself as animators that create background there, right? Okay? So that means we can actually bring all those kind of reality that we have, okay, when architectures design the backgrounds there, okay, but we're using in our own kind of way there to develop and to make believe for our animation or presentation of our works there, okay, just to make believe there, okay, especially when it comes to uh, light and shadows at the same time, right? Okay? You cannot actually just simply like, let's just say you have this kind of same kind of elements, but suddenly you change basically into these areas there. Can you see, right? Okay, so where basically the source of light there, right? Okay, happens. Even though okay, if you put those elements or put those kind of objects okay nearby, right? Okay, the first kind of object here, okay, even though logically the shadow going to be fall off over here, okay, but it's looking to be kind of weird there, okay. That's why you have to change the distance. At the same time, you see basically, okay, there's the logic over here. Whether the sun came from over here or there's the two different kind of source of light there, right? Okay? So be careful when you actually want to flip some of the object there, okay? When you want to flip the objects, make sure the shadows also can be changed there first. All right. So those are the things sometimes it's quite tricky there, okay? It takes a lot of practice there to develop, and when you actually work with your background, for example, there, okay, you must be able to what we call that, see the difference there. For me, right, if I use this kind of backgrounds, for example, here, right, what I can do next, I can actually write the same elements. I go to, if I use Photoshop, I'm going to go to saturations and start to change the colors there. Okay? Hmm. So that make us be more creative there, okay, to develop our works there, other than we just copy the whole thing and then leave it over there. They look a bit more kind of like you know basically what you're doing there. Okay, just like you know basically what you're actually doing there, right? You not just try to cheat your presentations, but you actually show use basically your advantage there when using computers there, right? Some people negativity that have in mind that I actually have seen from experience from my previous kind of co-workers, they say, oh, you just copy the paste, yeah, but I change the colors there. You have to be smart, right, to work on that. And people don't care about it, right? As long as you change the colors, you change basically your the size of it there, right? People won't care about it, right? Because the tree is only a tree there, but how you actually going to present them using your kind of skills that are important there. Because when we dealing with a lot of pages of illustrations or background, for example, there, right? Right now you're working only one backgrounds only there, right? What if in the future if you need to apply at least uh, InDesign also at the same time, right? If you don't have any kind of libraries of elements there that can be reused back again, there will be a lot of hard work there that you have to go through with it. The technique that I show you guys right now when you design the backgrounds there, right, for your kind of presentations, it will help you to reduce your kind of uh, working kind of what we call that process there, right? Okay, but we're using a very smart way to work. As long as you have prepared your element well, right? Your element well, right? Okay, I'm using a lot of this kind of techniques in a presentation. In a present basically my kind of illustrations kind of works there, because it helped there. Okay, people want to see the main characters, for example. Background, as I told you guys, is a kind of like accessories there that can complete the whole presentation, right? Even though the clouds, right? They draw a very nice kind of clouds there. Okay, for example, here there, okay? So the way that I choose the sky colors, you see there, right? I'm not choosing only natural, conventional kind of colors there. I kind of using a little bit kind of greenish kind of colors from blue families there, right? Okay? And then clouds there. There's a lot of way to draw clouds there, okay? Some people just simply draw clouds like no clouds there, right? Okay? There's no such thing of details there. Okay, with me? Remember that? So what I can do, okay, the ground also quite flat. Our world is not flat, right? Okay, remember that. Okay? If you think that the world is flat, this is what happens there. All right. So when I actually draw, okay, if you go through back again to most of my kind of demonstrations that I never draw basically the grounds are going to be look flat. I'm going to curve a little bit there, okay? Just to give more dynamic for your ground there. Even though you cannot draw backgrounds like the concept artist, it doesn't mean that you cannot present it well here. Like the cloud itself. Okay? The shapes there. But all this kind of thing when people doesn't actually have the right kind of understanding there, they don't actually practice it well, they won't be able to manage to work with it. They don't practice that, right? And from here, for example, here, back again, I can use also filters there, right? Just to make it a bit more softer kind of looks there. It can be effects there, right? All these kind of small kind of changes that you use to do in order to develop basically your kind of learning experience using those applications. Small thing that you did not actually recognize recognize that. Sometimes you don't practice directly. Basically, it helps you to bring back all those kind of things while basically you experiment with the element there. Using effects a little bit, filters a little bit, using lasso back again to draw, you're using brush, you're using all these kind of small things. That it doesn't have to be, or you draw a very complete international kind of design kind of press ad directly that will give you a bit more kind of satisfaction on presenting your works and understanding what you're going to do directly. What I've shown you guys today is very simple kind of tools that can give more impact on your presentation, and you will bring back again all your knowledge together there, right? That's why I didn't actually fascinate enough to work at a very fancy kind of tools there, because I always apply directly the things that are quite more direct directly. We use everything that has a direct kind of what we call it approach directly, but you learn to develop your creativities from there. Okay, without having enough kind of tools. It's just like driving a car directly. No matter what car that you're going to use directly, but if your driving sucks, it sucks directly. That's all, right? You cannot parking in the small space there, right? For example, there, right? Your driving is quite what we call that, not that confidence there, right? Okay, right. So no matter how what kind of car that you're going to drive there, okay, people can see, okay, oh, this guy cannot parking inside side parking there, okay, for example, there, okay. So those kind of things there, okay. So the car basically, okay, is just only a like you're using a tool there, you're using a Photoshop, for example, okay. What version that you use, okay. I always have this kind of the idea is that most of the technical kind of people have directly, okay, what kind of application that you use right now. If you saw from the Facebook directly, a lot of artists right now, they're just kind of like really kind of keen to experiment with new kind of tools there. Yes, okay with it directly. For me, only one thing directly. That kind of tool can make either job more easier, or the time that you spend to experiment them will make you gain more profit from there. Logically, is that right? Okay? If not, for me, I don't have to waste time from there, okay? So I just use the things that actually want to go from point A to point B, okay? Those are the things there. But of course, to experiment with new kind of tools is good, okay? Sometimes it will make your job more easier there, okay? But if you just use only one or two tools that is not actually maximized to use them, okay? Even though using this, for example, like this lasso tool, brush tool, okay, the whole presentation also the same there basically. And sometimes I saw right, some of my colleagues there, right, when they actually keen to develop all this kind of fancy kind of tools there. But at the end of the day, the presentations is kind of the same. And some more, right, they spend too much time to experiment the tools. They forgot about the importance of the final kind of outcome there, right? And also they burst also the deadline at the same time there. So all these kind of things for me is not that quite practical there, okay, for the working kind of experience, right? Working purpose, we have the deadline, even though uh, your assignments also have the deadline, okay, but it can be actually improvised from time to time until the final kind of submissions there. But for working kind of what we call experience, okay, all the work that you've been working on, the deadlines, all the things that you've what we call that, it's all depending on you there. The people relying on you all the time there. So if you mess it up, okay, that means that your bosses are going to get angry with it, lah. Right? So those are the things that unless your clients can be compromised there, right? So presentations here, the whole presentation is there, right? And then we go back into okay. this guy back again. 4 examples there, please. Right? Go down a bit. Then yeah, okay. So this is something that I normally use directly for develop basically my kind of concepts of illustrations directly or compositions there for my characters and their backgrounds at the same time there, before I'm going to continue to animate them. So I'm going to use this kind of methods there to work. Right, to make sure that the whole presentations looks that I want to present directly first. And then I'm continue to bring back into animations. And if I use the same backgrounds, I'm just going to what we call that, flatten the whole things and bring into those and up animate directly. Simple as that directly, those other things there. Right. So buildings also right, okay, the same thing right, okay, buildings, okay, using the basic shapes only to work there. So what I can do basically right here, normally, right, drawing buildings, if I'm going to use lasso tools, drawing buildings here, this I'm drawing KL towers there, right? Using shapes. And the colors of the buildings has to be a bit kind of hopefully should be there, right? So right now basically, yeah, selections. Either I can use shadows there to work, or I can use also brush there. This is erase, it's not brush. So this is called erasers too. New brushes there I didn't explore yet, right? I combine sorry, the elements that inside it. Line tools. This one, what brush is a real oil? Maybe a real oil they combine mixed up, they cannot mix them up, right? So I kind of understand that the new brushes that we have in Photoshop here, it kind of they have this certain kind of what we call it. They can actually write resembling like traditional kind of methods there, right? They have a very clever kind of artificial AI uh, kind of uh, connections there. Huh? So that means when you actually mix them up, some of the brushes there, it kind of like a traditional kind of way of working there. It's good, lah, right? It's good. Just like when I using the Corel painters or Sai before, right? They have that kind of feelings at the same time, right? Even though I rarely use those kind of tools anymore because Sai basically a free software. It's good, but Corel painters basically they basically relying a lot of your processors there, your machines there, right? That's why I kind of doesn't actually like to use something that might going to be delay basically my kind of work there, right? So like this one again, draw KL towers there. We say draw KL towers in animations kind of understanding is going to be a little bit kind of hard there, right? Because if you want to draw exactly from the real photos, sometimes you can use also collage if you want to, right? You just mix them up there, okay? Some of the way that I actually used back in the days, I just crop the real images and then paste into the background, even though look a bit kind of off. But for me, it's a part of the style that I can actually approach there. Mix the styles that can be approached from there. Okay, so this is one of it. Okay, and if I want to create some shadows, simple there. Just like I'm using a lasso, alternate, and then copy paste, multiply. Where is it? Multiply there. There's the shadows there, right? And I can actually reduce a little bit the opacities. And then I'm going to merge the layers there, right? Okay. Presentations, right? It show difference there. It kind of impacts there, okay? From your fresh from the whole kind of presentation on the background there, okay? This kind of ideas I get from Powerpuff Girls, right? I get from Powerpuff Girls. I study those Powerpuff Girls kind of what we call that background illustrations there, and then I try to apply in my own kind of way that it works. Okay, this is all about how you become more creative when you execute your works, right? People won't recognize whether you lazy or you actually quite genius there, right? Okay? Those are two different things there, right? Lazy or genius there, okay? I'm not saying that I'm genius about it, right? Okay, but I try to apply different kind of way, but simple, but they give a lot of good kind of impact on your presentations here. Okay. Any questions? All right. If you don't have any questions, right? How about right, Jonathan, Alfie, and Wenjun, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you guys ready, right, for your presentations?
Okay.
So far, ready lah.
Yeah, can, right?
But we
Yeah.
need to on our camera or not?
If you can come on your cameras at the same time, share your screens more better lah.
Haven't shower leh.
Right.
I don't have camera on my laptop.
Are you sure? Yeah. Most of the laptop right nowadays have a camera, right?
I have, but I can't
It's okay
open
lah, okay.
Yet don't have the software.
Okay. Yeah. They're supposed to be connect, right, directly to your cameras, right? To your laptop, is it?
Not sure because from my side, the icon right, it says no available camera found.
Oh. It's okay, okay. You just present your works, okay, in 5 minutes. Who actually want to start first? So you guys can share the screen there. Because I'm recording the sessions over here, so maybe later on Mr. Martin also can check basically, okay, your kind of presentations there. So you guys ready?
Oh, sir, we are not presenting together with Mr. Martin, is it?
I thought Mr. Martin coming also.
Okay, wait up. Because I don't know the okay, because he actually doesn't mention, because I have a class after your class. I have to prepare my kind of what we call that sculpting classes with Mr. Ernest. So I kind of what we call that quite tight for today, because the class just we just have to what we call that starting the class for week 9 already for this 3D sculpting kind of class. All right. I try to, don't know whether I can actually send it to him here. Okay, let me send it right. I'm going to send to Mr. Martin there, right?
Sir, I send the link in the comment section. Maybe you can copy the link and send to him.
Okay, thank you, thank you. This one, is it?
Yeah,
Copy this one there.
yeah. I think you right click the join Microsoft Team meeting. Right click and then copy link.
Copying the address, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we wait for Mr. Martin to join us. So if we can actually do it at these times, it's more better directly, so I don't have to create another session later on. Okay. Okay. So before we wait for Mr. Martin okay, to join us, okay? Do you have any question there, guys? Whitney, how is it there? Because one of the reason I want to hear from your kind of difficulty that you have there, okay? Because I want to help you guys to gain a little bit more marks from there, okay? From the presentation that I saw there, okay? Especially with me, okay? I have to be open a little bit for you there, okay? Because I kind of felt that, okay? I don't want to fail, all right, you guys from these subjects here, okay? So you have to show a little bit kind of understanding there, how actually you're going to execute, how actually you're going to develop basically your kind of works, okay? As we actually have been go through before there, right? So those are the things that at least you follow basically what I've shown, right? And we that I actually can actually see you actually try hard enough that to work on that, right? That's how actually can help you guys. At least you can get past there, okay? If you don't care about whether you get A, B, or C there, right? Okay, you just want to have pass. This is something that I can actually open up with you guys there. But for the rest of you guys who actually feel that you want to score, right? Improvise a bit more better from what I have to show. That means you show more from there. I already give you guys the tips that how to work there, right? Okay, so that's how actually you can get actually the maximum marks I can give based on your efforts there, right? But you want to score basically, okay, you have to be more kind of what we call it, put a little bit more kind of interest basically to present your works there in the right way, okay, especially on the animation itself. Where's Mr. Martin here? Phil, let me try again. Come on. Normally, how actually we're going to invite someone there when we actually starting the classes?
I think you need to go to the chat, and then there's like a icon at the bottom, at the top, right there.
This one or top?
No, yeah, there.
This one, new or add participation there.
Yeah, add people.
Add people.
And then if you have Mr. Martin's email
there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me wait there, right? Have Martin over here? No. Martin didn't tag me in this email there. Do you have Mr. Martin email there, hey you, or anyone from our groups here?
Can you let me check?
Okay. Oh. This one is with me. Oh, giving me that, right? Try many times cannot.
Sir, I share the email.
The email there. Okay. One there, right? So that means, right, here you, right, each
Mm-hmm.
scenes is basically around 1 second, is that right? All the motion is going to be around 1 second, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
around there lah.
yeah.
I might
Normal.
improvise, like I might
Okay,
change up things as I go lah.
okay.
How?
If you're going to extend a little bit, right,
Mm,
17 seconds, 18 seconds, right, it's okay there, right, okay? But as long
okay.
as it doesn't actually low than actually 15 seconds. Normally, if I give 15 seconds, right, the way that
Yeah.
you guys can manage, basically, right, each shot or each motion is going to be around 1 second. You can actually manage in 1 second what you're going to do from there, right? Okay? If you do want to add a little bit more kind of in betweens or kind of actions directly, it's up to you directly to make it more appealing to present directly. Okay. So guys, okay, make sure that okay, you also use those uh, key guide, okay, timeline, okay, to work on that. Don't just animate everything in one single shots or one single frames there, one single scenes there, okay. So manage basically your kind of motions uh, by using each seconds there, okay. So for you guys to really can manage and organize basically your motion as well there, okay. And the other way around that you guys can actually play with the presentations, you can add the scenes over here. Remember that, right? Sorry, not there. Insert the scene there, right? Okay. So scene one, scene two, scene three, you have 15 scenes altogether, for example. But the backgrounds, the best way, you just copy directly the background directly. Those other things can be applied directly if you use the same background directly. So don't actually work right around 15 seconds. For examples, you have around, all right, let's just say we managed to work around each kind of animations is around 25 frame right for 1 second there. If you really manage want to work around, okay, let's just say 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, for example, 4 seconds for example, for 4 different kind of scenes. Go ahead. If you might going to add a little bit kind of motion for that kind of particular scene is almost you can actually right, combine it in 4 seconds, go ahead there. But try not to manage the whole thing until 15 seconds there. Sometimes it's hard for you to keep track basically back again your kind of motions, and at the same time you're might going to be lose a little bit kind of your focus there, right? Even though if you can see, right, some professional always do, okay, a lot of layers there, okay, for each particular scene, okay. For the beginners, basically, to make sure you can manage well your motions, minimize your layers, minimize basically your frame rate for every scene, but focus more on the motions there. What you can give impact in every single frame there, right? Okay, those are the things there. Because to develop the sense of animation is not that easy there. Even you can actually spell every single word in 12 simple animation, you can spell it out, you can explain that, right? But to manage to work on it is totally different kind of things there, right? You have to combine to make the theories that you have, the principles that you understand into your working flow is not that quite easy. That you cannot actually develop those kind of animations a lot. Okay, you just actually draw once a month. For example, you animate once a month. Right? Okay, for example, okay, it's not going to be attached to it well directly. You're not kind of actually going to connect it what you actually understand with your kind of practice. Okay, really well from there. That's why manage your layers there, manage your frame rate, right? I've show you guys again in 25 frames per second. Sometimes it's not about 25 drawings there, right? You can manage that, okay, around 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, around 5 drawings sometimes, okay, but you can add a bit kind of in between, okay, to make the animation look smoother or a bit more, a bit kind of, give a bit kind of very higher impact on those motions there, right? Where is Mr. Martin there? Bro, I haven't gotten the email yet. Oh, bro, you sent all the. I'm in. Okay, good. Mr. Martin in?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Thank you, brother. To join.
Yeah.
Sorry, for the difficulties.
No worry. Yeah.
All right. Welcome to our class,
Yes.
Right. Our class basically we forbidden to show the face there.
Never mind. I know how they look like.
Hi, Mr. Martin. Do you
Right.
remember me?
Yeah.
Right.
I remember her with a bottle of wine.
Who's it? All right. Okay. So how's it there? Everything okay?
Yep. Sure. No worry. Yeah, I'm fine there. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So are you guys ready there? Right. Okay. Alfie, Jonathan, and Wenjun.
Yeah.
Right. So who
Yeah.
is it going to go in first? Alfie or Jonathan or Wenjun?
I present first lah.
Alfie, right?
Yeah.
All right. You can share the screen there, right?
Okay.
Wait up. I already off the screen over here.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the cover page. The title is Tears of Awaken. So the story is about a change made by this boy for his family. So the moral is that we need to always consider the consequence before we do anything. Alright, so this story is about a naughty boy, this boy Alfie, who always does dangerous things for happiness. Hence, he is restricted by his mother at home for punishment. But he doesn't care about his mother's advice. He goes out and keeps doing those dangerous things. So subsequently, Alfie is injured in an accident and his mother cries. So the trails of his mother awaken this little naughty boy to decide for changing. So the target towards kids around 5 to 12 years old. So this is the character, Alfie. He's a naughty boy that never cares about consequence before doing anything. So he always ignores his mother's advice and always does something dangerously for fun. So Jenny is Alfie's mother. So she really cares about her son's safety. So but in Alfie's eyes, she's stern. However, she has a weak side that Alfie never sees. So this is the work design outside their home, and this is the street. So we choose 5 selected scenes for the teaser. So this is the first. Alfie is going to fight with his friend.
So that one is first shot lah, one shot.
Yeah. This is in one shot.
All right. Okay, continue, please. Yeah.
All right. So this is the second shot. So Alfie's mother changed her face to a very angry face. So this is the third shot. This is the moment that Alfie and his friend drawing on their neighbor's wall. So he's very angry. Yeah. So this scene shows the design of the neighbor's house. Then this is the fourth scene. This is the moment that Alfie riding his bicycle very dangerously. So this is the last scene that Alfie and his friend going up to the hill. So this one will be the parallax shot. And the synopsis. So basically, he's a 10 years old little boy named Alfie, always plays with his friend dangerously, especially his best friend Bob. This is Bob. So even though his mother always advised him don't do something dangerous, but he never cares about it. So for Alfie, these dangerous things are his way to get the happiness. But until the accident, Alfie's mother cried and she saw Alfie was injured. So his mother's tears awakened Alfie from his mistake. Alfie finally understood what he did.
All right. Alfie, you still have like about 30 seconds to 5 minutes, right? So
All
you
right.
have 30 seconds. You want to spend the 30 seconds to promote?
Actually, I don't have anything afterwards because it's just the script and the storyboard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For this 30 seconds, do you want to use it to like promote your 5 selected scenes to Mr. Faisal? Like, what do you see in those scenes that, you see my fit to be the your selection of your your what is that called, a teaser, all right?
Alright,
For
alright.
example, what do you see? Why do you choose these shots?
Okay.
Can you, yeah?
So for the first shot is for the action, the movement. They run towards each other to fight. So this is the first shot I choose. Okay. For the second is the changing of the expression very suddenly, and I want to exaggerate it. So for the third shot is just for the design of the world, show the design skill. For this shot is also for the movement, and the scene will like moving to the back very fast and show the world design. This scene is for the parallax shot and for the world design. Yeah, so this is my presentation. Thank you.
All right, Effie, for the ending of the story, okay, do you actually going to be animate them or to show in the presentations at the same time? Because I saw from your presentation right now, because you actually have uh, show me basically your kind of ideas before this, right? I think around last 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But I cannot find the actual kind of directions that you actually can show for today, basically, especially in animatics, Larika, because you should basically right now should prepare basically your animatics based on your timings on 30 seconds, right? For the whole kind of stories there, so people can actually understand, and you also have the directions where you want to go from here directly. Because right now, if you just look back again, most of your presentations, okay, there basically there is some sort of the guideline that you actually can use and also improvise from here, okay. But some of the scenes that you just want to show the world only but not actually quite give impact on the stories, I might say that you don't have to actually show that, right? You don't have to present, okay. You just focus on the animations that show the behaviors on the characters itself, and at the same time they will give the audience also understand about your kind of stories, like in 30 seconds there, right? Okay, because
Alright.
30 seconds basically is not that kind of long enough to show the whole thing if you don't actually use all the kind of time to show the actual kind of ideas, who actually the character is there, right? Okay, who actually the characters, okay, is there, okay. Because I don't know how much time you're going to spend to show this kind of scene, for example, there, right? Okay, to show basically the sceneries, normally it will take sometimes around 10 seconds there, sometimes there, okay. If you show a little bit kind of let's just say you want to zoom in these areas, okay, slowly you're going to pan or zoom in, right, okay, to the characters there, okay, in this particular scene to show the whole environments. It will take 10 seconds normally, okay. So what basically you can show from there, okay, because 30 seconds clips, you have to give a little bit kind of understanding to the audience about the character itself there. The background is a part of the background there, okay, but uh, people will actually a little bit more kind of what we call that understand basically, okay, your kind of ability to develop the environments, okay, when they actually saw the whole presentations. You don't have to worry about that. But the thing is right now, because we're talking about the story is quite, for me, it's very quite heavy there, okay, because when you explain the story, when I read the story back again, I can see basically, okay, there's a lot of informations that you want to put in these presentations, but I didn't see, we don't, I believe that we did not see the circumstances that you actually have been explained to us, okay, today, about the characters, what happened to the characters visually, visually. Those are
Because
the,
because Mr. Martin told us
mm,
like the final teaser is not for story like it's just for show the skill of animating.
okay,
All right,
okay,
to be precise, what I
mm,
say, what I was saying is like for these two modules, we're going to look at your project from different point of view, different
mm,
perspective. So from
mm,
my side, it's more from the cinematography,
yes,
yeah. So which is already shown there, but like
mm-hmm,
what I say to you guys is like you have to explain more. How do you
mm-hmm,
choose this shot in terms of the character movement, the
yeah,
expression to sell your shot
right,
to Mr. Faisal. So to make sure that okay, those shots that selected kind of can
mm-hmm,
fit the requirement of animation fundamentals.
yep,
Yeah. So for
yep,
this
Correct.
5 shot, then if it's maybe for this 5 shot, all can be selected
yep,
by Mr. Faisal, or maybe less, or he might request more. Maybe I don't see enough movement, then he might request more. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm thinking that after that, after the shot lockdown, then before you actually work on it, you can faster do a animatic to
yes,
show Mr.
that's right,
Faisal again.
that's
Yeah.
right,
All right. All right.
So today,
uh,
basically, is like to show the shots
mm,
and promote your shot. You have to convince
mhm,
him. I choose this shot. Have this movement, that movement, right?
yeah,
You are
that's
not
right,
selling it to me. You already explained to me,
yeah,
Alfie. That's why I
All
just
right.
want
All
to
right.
remind you. Maybe second, sell to Mr. Faisal again, because I don't think you are doing enough, right?
because
All
one
right. All right.
Yeah,
one of the reason that me and Mr. Martin has decided to join
yeah.
our class together, Alfie, or the rest of you guys, okay?
Mm,
Because we want to see you put your efforts in both kind of discipline together there, right? Okay. As I actually told share with you guys today, even though I did not actually quite going to know basically you're going to present this kind of presentation for today directly, but you actually have seen before also. If I want to make convince, okay, how actually you're going to work with your background together with your characters, for example, Alfie there again, you have to give more from us, okay, for me also for today, okay, especially, okay, you have the basically the rough sketches on those presentation on those what we call that the composition that you show right now, but it doesn't actually quite convincing whether okay this is type of drawings are going to be in your presentation or not, or if I might going to say you can scroll it down a bit, okay, there is no kind of concept kind of ideas there on your presentation there, okay, at the same time, even though the character that you create like this character like Alfie, the mother, and so Bob, it doesn't actually give uh, more kind of convincing whether you are ready enough to work with the characters or not. Remember what I said previously on our class, right? Preparing your characters well. Make sure that you can understand, you will understand the direction that you want to go when you animate them, okay? By preparing all the posts there that required in your presentations there. I think if you plan it really okay, for the whole presentation like this, okay, not actually just waiting only there. Okay, a lot of people, I believe, when they actually have uh, compile all the presentation and they present in the first time, they won't be able to begin to improve a bit more from there, right? They just use the same slide and then just present in no matter
All
what
right.
happens, right? So those are the things that I kind find quite lagging with the presentations here because you don't actually keen enough to work more for that scene there, okay? Because you, if you actually really what we call that, have the confidence that okay, I want to use this scene because for me, I can actually give a lot of comment from your presentation here, but one of it that I want to make basically in line with what you do is I don't want to give a lot of comment that you might going to change a lot from here, but I want you to improve back again, Okay, to make sure that not me you're going to convince. It also has to be build up your confidence later on when you work with that scenes. Because sometimes when people not prepared, okay, I'll show you guys today also, right, how I'm going to prepare the backgrounds, okay, test a few kind of elements of the backgrounds, okay, work on that kind of scenes, okay, even though you haven't animate yet, but you show basically that you have planned it well before you animate them. Okay, for example, that I show you guys today, I kind of create those kind of characters in the right kind of pose, and then based on that scene, I add it into my kind of whatever that we're doing Photoshop or Adobe Animate to create the backgrounds. Just like the scene that you plan in your storyboard there, but you kind of create the whole composition is a little bit more complete there. Then you can see whether I can use this one or not. And of course, with this scene, basically, you have to repeat the background there, okay? You have to repeat the background of the movements there. But when you pan the background, basically, you don't have to have a lot of long kind of backgrounds. Okay, you just can repeat the motions there. Okay, those kind of thing I will show you guys maybe later on there. Okay, but bring basically the visuals there, the element that you might going to use to animate, to compose them back. It's really important with the presentations there to make sure that you really get ready to understand how to work with it. Okay, right now what we can see, okay, all basically is only rough sketches there. And animatics there, LT, even though in 30 seconds, you have to prepare the whole presentation there. That they mean every single seconds that you're going to show in the presentations here, it have been produced in the motions, in the very simple kind of motions there to make the directions of your kind of ideas here. So that means if you take a look back again to your second kind of shots, like a second scenes there, okay, the mother itself there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, normally, okay, when people want to animate these kind of scenes, normally they use the direct kind of motions like this one, the right kind of composition there, just close up there, okay. You
Yeah.
don't even have to, you don't even to think that, okay, whether you want to put some established shot first, okay, on the mother itself, and then you can zoom in quite fast there, okay, to show the tension of the mothers there, okay. It can be like that, but I don't know whether you plan that kind of things or not there. By using the same shot, but you change basically the camera works there, it can be give more impact. Because to zoom in quite fast from established scene into the close-up scenes, they're going to take around a few frames only, right? If you have animate or actually have test those motions or not. So I would suggest you try that first. Don't just simply cut the scenes into close up, but you don't basically those scenes came from it, where basically the positions of the mother came from it. Because a lot of people, they kind of doesn't actually play with the kind of camera kind of works there, okay, a lot of time. Because even though we have a lot of privilege to do that, right? Okay? Because they kind of direct doing everything from what they've planned for the first place. They don't improvise them. So what I would suggest, you can actually establish the shot for 1 second, for example, for this what we call that mom, and then you kind of track or zoom in quite fast around 10 frame maybe or 5 frames maybe, right? Okay, to give more impact on this scene, okay, to show the mother kind of what we call expressions there. Or maybe to establish the shot, sometimes you don't need 1 second, maybe around 15 seconds, 15 frame maybe there, okay, depending there. You have to test all these kind of methods there first before you're going to animate. That's what animatics are going to give us, the directions of the motions here. All right, that's what make the animatics will help us to plan it well there, because otherwise you will always imagine in your mind all these kind of scenes, even though the first scene there, okay, how long is it going to take there, the first scene there, okay, the fighting scene there, okay. I would say that if you really want to show the established shot first right here, right, okay, how many seconds that you want to play, okay, 1 second, and then you cut into, you zoom in maybe for these shots over here there, right, okay, to make this kind of particular kind of characters to fight each other, that how basically the motions, right, motions going to be involved there, okay. All this kind of planning in animatic will help to gain a little bit kind of confidence there. The reason why we make animatic just not because just want to show basically the directions of the motions or maybe the flow of the each kind of stories there, but the animations that involve there that you might going to use to animate them. Even though you don't have to animate the whole frames, but you're going to emphasize the right kind of key pose. Key pose there. Remember the outfit, okay? Every single kind of motions, we start with 5 single frames there, right? Okay? 5 single frame there. Then we can add on later on the in between there, right? So
Yeah.
plan it then back, okay? So then you can imagine more better, like fighting kind of scenes, whether you want to use some sort of like a smoke kind of effects there, right? Okay, like most of the cartoons have done there, okay? Repeat those motions, only entire motion there, okay? It can be there, okay? But whether you plan those kind of things or not, right? I don't know that. That's why I think I have those responsibility to give you guys some suggestions from here. Right? Make sure you take notes and then you apply them back there, okay? Because 30 seconds, for me, you can show a lot of things if you plan it well. Then people will see all the knowledge that you want to gain, you want to emphasize on your cinematography kind of subjects and so animation at the same time you can combine together and the whole scenes doesn't get boring. Okay.
All right. All right.
Anything else then?
No.
All right. So hopefully you can prepare that, okay? How long does it take there to work the whole thing there? I think you can work everything is in this week there, right? So don't
Yeah.
wait too long there. Don't wait too long there, right?
All right.
Otherwise,
All right.
because the process of understanding basically back again our problems, they have to create a little bit more faster, right? Okay, whatever that you have, try first. And then the best way, just submit to us, right? Okay, according to what you have planned, and then we can see from there. Don't wait too long there, right? Okay.
All right. All right.
Okay, thank you, Elfie.
Thank
All right.
you.
Okay. Yeah. LP, before you go, I think it's a great input from Mr. Faisal. We thought at first, I think we thought like we had to present the short first for him to choose, but like his idea is like, okay, you have to show me in the animatic form. Yeah. Then he can give you feedback. He can actually accept whatever choice that you make, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he can give you improvement based on the animatic form. All right, and then
Right.
what he said, he's not like asking for much. Those animatic you already done last semester. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, can we targeting on next time you're gonna see Mr. Faisal on Tuesday? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you three men able to show the 20-second animatics?
Yep.
Yeah. I think can.
Can, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, some most
So-
of the some of the background is static, isn't it? But from character movement, yeah, that you can have like maybe 2 or 3. Then yeah, don't have to be animatic every frame, just like how you did it last time. Yeah,
Yes.
All right.
just let Mr. Faisal to understand. Okay, for this whole 20 second, how do you use it, and then every frame, how you're going to animate it, the movement of the character and things like that. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
That's
And
what
then it's
that's
good,
what I
the
made it for.
second shot, right? The close up. Actually, you have it's a zoom in from the wide shot, right? That was the plan. So
Yeah.
I'm glad, Mr. Faisal say that. Then, you can like put back the wide shot in there and then you do the zoom.
All right. All right.
Because they doesn't take a lot of time there
Yeah.
from that. Yeah. Because
Okay.
they give more impact on the presentations, and those are the things that you can done, right? But
Alright.
of course,
Okay.
right, Alfie, work on that right first, right?
All right.
All right. Okay.
Next.
Thank you.
Welcome. Right, next.
Jonathan and Wenjin.
Jonathan and Wenjin.
Okay, I'll go first lah to present.
Oh, Jonathan, right, okay, good.
Yeah, Jonathan. Okay. Then- Okay, so can you see?
Yes, can that right.
Yep.
Okay, good morning to Mr. Martin, Mr. Faza, and everyone else, friends. So today I will be presenting about my final project presentation. So the contents of this presentation reflect the contents of the pitch Bible, but design-wise, it will not reflect the pitch Bible because it is still in the tentative process. Okay. So the title of my animation will be called Teddy, and the synopsis of this animation is there lived a lonely boy named Chris who lived in a house with his family. he was always trying to like engage with people and interact with them, but his family always don't want to interact with him because they're always busy doing what they want to do. And then one day, while he was browsing at a toy store together with his family while they were walking in a mall, he found a toy that he likes because, to his surprise, when he brought it home, it was actually alive. And both of them went on to amazing adventures, going to a new world that they explored together as best friends. However, while they were on a seaside, when they went out for a picnic together with a family later on in the story, the boy encountered a great danger in the beach that would turn his life upside down. So will the boy be able to live happily again after that? And for the plot, the animation purposes, we'll go to the story spine that we'll skip to the part where we'll use for the 20-second animation. So it will be the first bullet point, which because of that, they spend more time together. They even went on to a different world that the teddy bear brought the boy to, which is a world that is much brighter, joyful, adventurous, and exciting compared to the world the boy lives in now. Okay, so for the main characters, we have Chris, which is a young boy who is timid, shy, and nervous, and a Teddy, who is Chris's best friend, who is the exact opposite of Chris. So we'll be talking about the character features, which is Chris, who is a young boy who actually likes to spend time with people around him, but he's a very shy, lonely, and sad person actually, and he's very introverted. So the next character is Teddy. Teddy is the opposite of Chris, and is the supposed friend that Chris wants in his life, because he's very joyful, energetic, loving, and gives attention to Chris that the boy always wanted. Okay, so next is the sub-characters. The sub-characters here will be further explained in the storyboard later. So the bear is Chris's father, and the deer is Chris's mother. This is how he views his parents as animals in the other world, the Wonderland, which I'll get onto later. And this is the sunflowers and fox, where the sunflowers are Chris's teacher and schoolmate, and the fox is Chris's brother. Okay, so for the script, I'll go to the part where it's used for the animation purposes, which is indicated with red lines in between. So it starts in the bedroom where Chris is playing with his teddy, and it shows that they are talking and that Teddy wants to invite him to a new world. It's called Wonderland, where he can meet Teddy's friends and introduce them to Chris. Okay, so next is the, I also provided
I have to remind you that you hit 3-minute marks.
Oh, okay. I'm going to the storyboard already. Okay. Okay, the PDF version is also available here. Okay, so now the storyboard. So the first scene is scene 1, shot 1, where it's an extreme wide shot. This is where I establish the environment to the viewer, where it's very dark, gloomy, and rainy, and it's not very joyful. And so the foreground here is the car and the dog. I'm not sure if you can see the dog, it's at the bottom left, and also the clouds at the top. So the motions here is some subtle movements from the car moving left to right, and then the rain dropping down, and then the clouds, some clouds in between also will move. Okay. The next shot is scene 2, shot 2, which is a medium wide shot. Chris plays the toy blocks with Teddy. Then Teddy asks Chris if he wants to meet Teddy's friend. I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. Okay.
Slow.
Okay, Chris responds happily. Okay, so even though it's raining, it's not supposed to look this bright, right? But I intentionally made it because in the animation, I will have some lightnings flashing. So it will look visually like that. Okay, so then Teddy will jump off the bed to the curtain. And the next shot is where he opens the curtain. And the reason why I put it colorful here through the window is because I want to emphasize that it has a contrast between the world that Chris is living in and the wonderland that they'll be going to lead into through the window. It's very joyful and colorful and bright. So when they both jump through, the next shot is a parallax shot from right to left, a horizontal parallax shot. They walk through the meadow, they talk with the flowers, and they meet with a bear, a deer, and a fox, and they just have a wonderful time together. And the silhouettes of the trees and the bushes is the foreground. Okay, so the final shot is a shot where they spend time together in the seaside, which is Teddy and Chris, and they just look at the into the horizon where it's visually appealing and all that. And so the reasons why I chose these shots is because they fit for the design purposes, and it's the animation is there in terms of the parallax shot where they can like walk and jump and run, and there are some subtle motions from the figures as well. Okay, so this is the overall storyboard, and that is it for my presentation. Thank you.
So Jonathan, right? Most of the whole kind of concept of presentation on the character and the background are going to be like that, or are you going to be improved a little bit?
Oh, they will definitely be improved.
Yeah. If you can have the at least one kind of final kind of concept design for those characters and also the backgrounds, okay, that you can show us maybe later on. You don't have those kind of final kind of look there, right?
The backgrounds I don't, but the characters is the one that I showed is more or less final already, which is the flowers, the fox, bear, the deer, and the.
Have you tested the animations yet?
Not yet.
Because I can't actually imagine at the moment how actually you're going to animate all these characters, okay? But I would say if you can actually test, okay, to do all these kind of characters with certain kind of animations, okay, which actually if you go through, for example, if you want to plan that, okay, in the more, for me, it's more kind of more practical way. If you go into the parallax scenes just now, can you show me the parallax scenes then?
Sure.
Okay, this one there, right? Okay, if you can actually test your kind of, let's just say if you don't animate entirely in more kind of proper way, right? Okay. For example, in animatic, for example, right, you just want to plan the keyframe first, the key pose first, right? Okay. How actually you're going to animate all these characters, right, in a few seconds, okay, in that 30-second, 30-second kind of animations, right? How actually you're going to loop these kind of motions, which going to be lead into your directions, how actually you're going to animate them in the future there, okay? So those are the things that I quite concerned because in order these kind of presentations, normally you have to be smart to animate the characters there, okay? Because not all animation you have to do the whole thing in different kind of motions all the time there. Because I already show you guys before this, like jump cycle, for example, okay, we can repeat all those kind of motions there, okay? It's just like forever kind of motions, but it's basically based on the timing itself there. So you don't actually, you kindly do the hard works, but the animation itself, you have actually a plan, okay, that you actually can loop them whatever timing that you want later on, okay? For example, like these characters, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kind of character that you have there, okay? Other than the one small characters right here. So if you can actually do a little bit kind of testing first, okay, test animation each of these characters, okay, then using the design that you have, right, it will basically help you to gain more kind of confidence to animate the other kind of motions later on there, okay? So those are the things that I would suggest right, okay? And of course, the proportions, okay, the perspective, the proportions of each kind of element, like a foreground, some of the, like this one, the tree, okay, look a bit more smaller there, okay? I don't know the purpose of those kind of, the whole kind of concept of your characters, right? Is purposely you actually want to design these characters a bit more bigger. It's okay, okay? It's a fantasy kind of land there, okay?
Yeah.
Right, but how you actually arrange some of the elements like trees, like this one, right? Get a little bit more like make more believe there, right? Make more believe, okay? Because we don't want to see, okay? We don't want to. Sometimes the audience doesn't kind of confuse whether these characters is giant characters or not, okay? Because they look like the tree is quite small, okay, from this distance. Even if it's a foregrounder, okay? Those are kind of logic kind of things, even though in fictional kind of stories we have to take care of, right? Okay, at the same time, okay. And of
Mm.
course, I always concerned about the whole presentations, lah. Right? Okay, remember, okay, we are not actually perfectly, like we not actually show the perfections on the works, but they look more presentable, lah. Right? Okay, so like the whole presentation, the whole kind of concept of those backgrounds, right? For me, if you can work, okay, this one single frame first, because I believe this one single frame is quite have a huge impact on your whole story. Is that right? So that means if you can focus with this kind of compositions, try to make it as as complete as possible there, then you can actually go through with the other kind of scenes later on with the same kind of directions lah. Okay, because
Okay.
if you're not actually right, not sure enough, okay, how to draw basically the elements like here, like sun, right? The sun itself, right?
Mm.
And also the clouds and the whole compositions there, okay? Try to make sure that you have the right kind of art styles that you want to produce here, right? Okay? That will give more confidence for you to present the whole thing. Sometimes the animations is not that quite heavy there, okay? But people will get amazed with your kind of understanding to portray the whole kind of cinematography, okay? At the same time, the animations of the character itself that can be moved, okay? They're quite convincing that you actually understand and apply the thing that you like guys learn from both kind of discipline right here, there, right? Okay.
Mm.
I kind of feel kind of like what you call that when I see most of your characters there, right? Okay? I kind of feel quite a little bit kind of skeptical of whether you can animate or not. That's why I'm asking you guys these questions, whether you have cast basically your animation with these characters or not, right? So those are basically my concern here, right?
Mm.
Because you involved with one more than five characters, right? Okay? I don't know,
Yeah.
right? Okay? Because what I believe normally, if you want to manage our characters, right? Okay, for one single story, for short story, okay, we try to minimize basically the characters itself. Okay, five is more than enough. That sometimes we use three. Okay, depending there. Okay, but if you think you can actually handling all this kind of character because it's not actually quite long enough the animations, it's okay. But like I say, cast the animation first, right? What kind of movement that you're going to every single kind of characters here for this short, okay? So that will give you a bit kind of directions later on, how to animate later on all these characters there. All right? Those are
Okay.
basically my concern there. And the last kind of scenes, same thing, right? Okay? Because that kind of particular scenes, what are the things that you can show in terms of the animations kind of elements there, right? Okay, sometimes you can actually animate basically the scenery itself, the cloud itself, okay, the sun itself, okay, some of the effects from here, okay, from the sun kind of what we call that set, kind of what we call that glowing light there, right? Okay, the
Mm.
shadow itself, okay, all these kind of elements basically, if you can plan to animate them, it will give a bit more kind of impact basically on the whole kind of presentations. And some more, right? Okay, even though this kind of scenes, okay, is quite very, for me, it's quite very kind of simple there, okay. You can add a little bit kind of foregrounds over here if you want to, but I would suggest for you to change a little bit, kind of that kind of arrangement, okay, because it doesn't look fit a bit, okay. Even though the drawings are, and the other thing is, right, okay, you using this kind of styles of drawings, right, is because you basically plan to use the children's styles of drawing for your presentations, or do you have any kind of reference that can actually give you a bit kind of studies there? Okay, this particular kind of drawing styles is not only from your styles, but you actually have refer with any other kind of artists that actually have using the same styles there to present their works. Okay, it doesn't mean you have to copy them, but as I told you, right, okay, it's a part of the research kind of strategies there, right? You're using this particular kind of style, for example, in animations. Why, basically, right? Okay, it's not because you just can draw like this one there. Okay, it has to become with the ideas as you do a little bit kind of studies from other people kind of works that might going to be influence you to develop your kind of way of presenting this kind of drawing styles there. It's really important here because a lot of people always say that, okay, this is my style that I want to use there, okay. I believe you need to have some sort of directions there. You saw also how actually I draw one of the dragons from from my kind of 6-year-old kind of drawings there, right? 6-year-old kind of son kind of drawing there, right? You saw
Yes.
actually how I execute them there, right? So if you have that kind of ideas of understanding there to develop on your kind of concept of a whole presentation of your animation, is more better there, right? Because it gives you also some sort of like kind of professional kind of understanding there. Professional doesn't mean you have to draw anime and manga directly. It has to become in various type of resources you have seen and you execute in your own intellectual kind of way, right? Because animations basically is very, very kind of freestyle kind of presentation that anything can be animated there. You can do also use collage if you want to directly. So depending on how actually you're going to present, it doesn't have to be drawing all the time there, right? So remember that, Jonathan, okay? So be a little bit kind of smart to present your styles there, right? Don't just do whatever that you want based on what you know only, but what you actually haven't seen before, you haven't actually explored, right? You're not actually afraid to work on that, right? Okay? This was basically my suggestion, all right?
All right.
Mr. Martin, how was it? Sorry, Derek. So, Mr. Martin, how was it? Anything you want to add?
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
agree. So just now Mr. Faisal talked about the art style. Yeah. What I say was like, I look at this, I want to imagine how is it gonna be at the final outcome. Can you guys provide a reference?
Yeah.
Yeah. During the presentation, my outcome, even though I'm looking at this, but my reference, my outcome gonna look like something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then we can have a bit more confident in a way. So
Yes.
yeah. So Jonathan.
Um,
You have your reference? You have, right?
I I know the reference, but I forgot where it was. Okay, so this is how it was. So like, there was one part of the slides, the lectures that you did, right, Mr. Martin, where there was a video of a boy with a fox, but I can't remember which slide was it, and I can't remember what's the title. Do you remember that animation with the boy and the fox?
If you need that for your presentation, you should ask me earlier.
You have to show the visuals there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to show the visual there, okay? Because we actually talking in visuals there, Jonathan, right? So why
Yeah.
don't you actually seek for those kind of information first, visual information first? Try
Mm,
to find not only one single samples there, okay? Try to seek more than that, okay, before you decide there, right? Okay, before you decide, okay? Because
Okay.
I also give you guys also a lot of examples before how actually you're going to portray your kind of art styles later on there, okay? But you have to test first, right? You have to test it. All these kind of things for me is quite exciting that when it comes to explorations that you have as a student, basically you have the privilege to explore a bit more. Don't just rely on what you have only there, okay? Because sometimes because if you're relying on what you have only, okay, it's not going to be executed in the right or the best way that you can produce because you actually in the what we call the environments of you have to think as intellectuals, right? Okay, because we work basically based on what we have studied, right? Okay, but not just what we only have, okay. So it will be give more advantage for you to see the whole ideas of what you've been working on in more different kind of perspective there, right? Okay, because everyone has the good potential to develop his own way, but how actually execute them, it has to be come with the a few not only one or two few number kind of influence that you have there, okay, that actually you can actually execute. I don't actually find something like, for example, right, okay, a lot of people always give this example like they want to, the reference is like uh, the animation from Ghibli Studio there, for example, there, okay, a lot of details, a lot of skill kind of base there, okay, but the way they execute, they cannot actually work with that kind of particular styles there because of the limitation of the skills there. So you have to be more realistic also, right? In terms of develop your styles there. If you can draw like this, for example, that's what I say. Find some of the animations on the YouTubes or any kind of reference from the Pinterest or Google that can give that, hey, this is my kind of styles there, for example, okay, I can actually do this one, okay? There has to be because we actually in a human being, every human being, even though you not actually know each other, they have some sort of connection between us in every human being there. It might going to have a similarity there. Okay, that's why I don't believe that when people say, "Oh, I actually kind of isolated from other people." No, right? Okay, a lot of people that you haven't met, they also sometimes have the same kind of problem, the same kind of issue, this kind of skills there. So you just have to seek for that, right? Okay, to see your kind of connection. That's why when I actually do also my own works, I will find someone artist that actually have the same kind of what we call that skill set that I can actually produce there. All right. If I cannot working like Koji Morimoto kind of works or Hayao Miyazaki, there, okay, I find someone else who actually have internationally have been proved, right? Okay, who can actually what we call that in line with what I can do, and then how actually I'm going to execute them. I'm going to test back again whether I can actually produce those kind of things similar to that kind of working or not, styles or not. Okay, if I can, I will go for it there. Okay, so I don't have to rely on one particular styles only. Okay, because you guys have a lot of freedom to choose there to present your work. Then that's how actually you guys also can be learning based from your experience from there, right? Okay, Jonathan.
Okay. I also found the reference
Okay, can
that
you share with us?
yeah, sure.
Mm.
Okay. Something like this.
Okay, so you can see there, okay, how actually they execute the design there, right? Okay, so if you can actually redesign those characters back again, if you can, but not just trace these kind of characters there, but
Yes.
try to apply, right? Okay, the same kind of way of styling those characters back again, because the characters doesn't, even though, right? Okay, the characters is a little bit kind of simplified there, right? Okay, but the whole proportion is right. What are the name of these characters there? The I think Wenjun actually given us one of the link there, right?
Sorry.
When you basically share me some of the
This
one of the
thing
link. I
is
don't know whether.
the video of the Jonathan reference. Just now he was searching what, so I sent the link.
Okay, thank
You
you,
said in the
thank you.
chat, is it? Okay.
Yeah, you check back again. Okay, the styles of animations here. All right, the background itself, there, right? I'm looking at that kind of what we call that animation just right now. Okay, so Jonathan, I think you can study those kind of styles of animations there, because most of
Sure.
the drawing basically they use, I think they use Photoshop, right? They use Photoshop as it works, right? I'm not saying that you just copy the whole thing, but study how actually they create them, right?
Yeah.
Most of them using the background using Photoshops. They use a lot of textures, right? But the characters you can apply in using those the very thin kind of line in Adobe Animate there, right?
Okay.
So maybe maybe later on, if you need my kind of what we call a consultation on this kind of design back again, just let me know. That's why I say, right, okay, as I told you guys before, design is very important there. That's why I keep telling you guys all these kind of things there. Because if you don't actually focus on those design, right, you won't be able to understand why actually you create this kind of styles there. How you're going to execute them, right? Okay? How actually going to manage them at the same time there, okay? Because design for animation, even though looks quite, some people say not important, okay? It will give impact a lot, either from your first process of pre-productions, okay, by applying those kind of pose for those animations before you animate them, or to create your concept kind of art or design, okay, to be a part of those kind of environment itself there, to join together directly, and also the animation part directly. The animation part is the last thing that basically will give kind of impact on the whole presentation or the whole study that you have done before. But that's why studies on this character design, study the pose itself directly is really important there, because what I've seen from what you have done right now, Raki, it's not enough study on the characters. Okay, same goes to Alfie just now, Raki. Take care of those characters there first, Raki. So that's how actually you're going to plan really well on those animation later on. But if you don't have time, for example, Sarah, okay, to study beyond the pose that you want to create in those scenes. So study the pose according to the scene that you plan, right? So that
Okay.
means like riding bicycle, for example, like Jonathan just now. Okay, try to study those kind of pose. Okay, 3 or 4 different kind of pose. How that guy had, how that boy actually riding bicycles there. Okay, very different kind of pose there. So if you find one or two kind of confidence, okay, this is the pose that I want to use, that I can animate them. Okay, just start to work with this key drawings from there. Same goes to you basically, Jonathan there. Okay. Now, okay, this character is quite nice for me to animate, easy for me to execute. And then start to work with the pose there. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome. Right. Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. All right, Benjun, you're the last one there.
All right. So my title is Ahead to Dream, and this is my main character. This story is about a Chinese boy who got inspired by Usain Bolt during Olympic final. He want to be a professional sprinter, but it's not that easy, as it need to be very disciplined and hardworking. And he is just a 12 years old kid, and his parent doesn't support him to be an athlete. So this cartoon is like showing how he overcome the problem and face the challenge he faced. So this is my main character, Arjun. He's a typical Asian character and he's 12 years old. Compared to his friend, he's not tall, but he's very fast. And it will be introduced in the first scene to show like he's very fast, even though he haven't started any training. And he's a guy who get emotional easily when he face any challenge, but he will do anything for his patient about what he passionate about. So in the first scene, I will show mainly show the village, like introduce the word to the audience. And the second scene is showing how he got inspired by Usain Bolt and in the mama shop. And then in a montage of he start to practice for his sport day. In scene 2.5 is to show like he never give up, because like during his training he fall down and then his friend laughing and he asked him to give up. In scene 3 is during the sport day. After 1 year he start to in the starting line, like show how he win the game and then how he continue his training again. And then scene 4 is like he's showing his parent he won the game and telling them he want to be a professional sprinter athlete. But then his parents show him a opposite way lah, like they doesn't support him. Scene 5 is to show how he faced the problem, like how he solved the problem. He still want to be the athlete, but his parent doesn't want to let him go out and exercise or training, so he trained in his room. In scene 6 is when the enemy come to him, like introduce the second character. And during the training, the second character, which is Mutu, to show he defeat to him. And then scene 7 is to show like he's very stressed because the country game is coming, but the enemy come to him, like he's not the fastest anymore. And then go to scene 8 is the most important scenes, which is the final scene showing Arjun in the county games playing with Mutu also. And then scene 9 is when his parents saw him win the game and then they feel like they want to support him already because they saw his result. So this is the first scene. I want to say sorry because I didn't really refine my artwork because I got limited time to use my tablet since my sister and me are sharing the same tablet and she's studying graphic design and I don't know why she suddenly want to use it like often. So I want at midnight. The first scene that I will choose is scene 1 because this scene is important to show the work of this animation, like the Chinese village, and also it will introduce the main character. Then another scene I will choose is the second scene, which is how he got inspired by Usain Bolt. Like he imagined himself in the Olympic stadium, and then Usain Bolt interact with him. He was like very excited for it. And then these two I will skip and then move to the montage. Like this is the one parallax scene. Like he's training in a different background, like beach and then beside road or mountain or anything. Like the background will keep changing, but the character is like still running here at the middle like that, or maybe walk to A from B and then the background move together. Then another shot is I want to show he got defeated by Mutu, which is like during his training, Mutu suddenly passed by him very fast, and then he was shocked and he realized that he can't reach that speed, and he know that he got defeated. Then straight away I will move to the final scene, like showing last time he like very excited, but now he become like very serious. And then the scene will end at like bang and then just close, like make the audience wondering about like the result, like he go win or not, like that. Yeah, that's all.
All right, when okay, around these 30 seconds, right? Are you plan to animate or to present the whole kind of scenes like this for 30 seconds, or are you going to choose which the important kind of parts to show basically the struggle of your characters there in the stories?
Yeah, like I want to, like just now I introduced, like I chosen one is scene 1. Hey, can you see my screen now?
Yes, can, right.
Can. Like this one, the first scene showing the world, like introduce the Chinese village, like the surrounding, where he lived in, to attract the audience, like, oh, this is some kind of place that I live in. And then I will move to the second scene, like how he got inspired, why he want to become an athlete. Then he start to training like parallax shot. This is the third one. And then just skip to until he got defeated by the Mutu, like the enemy comes to him, the challenges he's facing. And then straight away skip to the last scene. So this is the fight shot.
Okay, the next kind of presentation that you can actually plan, right? Okay, yes, of course, if we go back into animatics and we also try to define some of the important keyframe that you actually can emphasize on the animatic that can show the story and the whole composition of the scene itself, right? Okay, those are the things that I find it will be helpful for you and so for us to understand the directions of your whole presentations lah. Because it's good you have the whole kind of storyboard right here, right, to show the whole stories. But when it comes to 30 seconds, you have to show us basically the most important kind of cinematography is kind of what we call that discipline that you want to show on each scene. At the same time, yes, of course, the animation itself, okay, they're going to involve over there. You saw also some of the reference that I give you from that Gobelins kind of animations, right? right? They have around 30 seconds, kind of 30 seconds, 35 seconds, 40 seconds kind of presentations there. So I would say that, okay, if I look at this first, your main page over here there, okay, the boy basically running there, okay, with this kind of particular kind of scene here there, okay, compositions there. I might say this is quite good kind of one of the scenes that might going to be used there, hopefully there, okay, for your presentation there, because it show also all this kind of dynamic kind of composition from here, right? You just have to think how to animate all the repeating kind of motions of the tree and some of the grass there later on, okay? We need to repeat them only there, okay, to show the boy actually running really fast, okay? And you focus also on the motion of the characters here there, okay? So I believe that if you can actually come up with that kind of ideas in your kind of animatics later on to show more, not only the story, because normally, right, in teasers, whether people can understand the stories is one thing, but if you can show the important kind of journey of this boy who actually, what you actually have told from the storyline, okay, he's very fast, he's not quite tall, okay, but you emphasize on the skill of this boy there, okay, who actually can running fast there, okay, who actually it will be more kind of what we call better, right, on the presentations, other than you just show all this kind of story back again based on your storyboard, right? Okay. I don't know whether you can actually treat back, go into more like you create another treatment basically based on your original ideas to give more emphasis on the characters itself, right? In 30 seconds, right? You have to think back again how is it going to be like. But I always concerned that, okay, you have the very good kind of ideas over here, but it doesn't actually show a lot of impact on the characters kind of involvement here there, okay, because they play with a lot of drama there, okay. The whole kind of ideas is good, okay, for your practice there, but in terms of 30 seconds, right, if you can actually emphasize on the skill for the characters there, right, the whole thing that you're going to present from the cinematographic kind of discipline and also animation kind of discipline is all based on the emphasizing on the character itself. I would say it will be more better on the presentation, because I love to see when you actually start to work with this kind of styles of characters, okay, they have a very rough kind of strokes of line, like a drawing style there. Okay, I would love to see that kind of visual styles of those presentations for your animations there. Even though you would say to us, okay, that it's quite hard to color the whole scene, okay, because of the line is not that attachment. It's not that
But I
kind.
found a way already. Yesterday, I spent a lot
Mm.
of time to explore, and then I found an easier way to do this.
But you can still stick with the styles, lah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, okay, good. Okay, so that means what we call that maintain that kind of styles there, because even though going to be look rough, but we love to see that kind of motions have been working on with that kind of roughness, right? Okay, for me, it will give your animations, your characters look more alive there, rather than just very sleek kind of what we call that styles that represent emotions there, okay? Because I used to work with the kind of characters, that kind of style also with some of the presentations there. So it's quite nice that you see from there. But the way that you present later on, like the animatics in 30 seconds, hopefully you can actually compile some of the important kind of scenes there that will show more emphasization on the characters that itself, okay, rather than some of the drama there, okay, that you might say quite not, for me it's not that quite important lah, right? Okay, because in 30 seconds we want to see the characters there, we want to see that main characters there. If there is involved another characters, yes, we love to see that mutu kind of characters there that compete with him, right? Those are the things there. If you want to give you a shot, okay, to develop those established shot on the scenery of the city or the town there, okay, go ahead there, but make sure you do it well, right? Because it's quite very, it's good for you to have a very slow panning kind of what we call that sceneries, okay, on the established shot on the town itself there, just to give you more kind of good kind of understanding, right, okay, that you actually can draw the background, right, okay. But yes, of course, okay, it's quite challenged, but just go for it, okay, because you have to plan a little bit, okay, the presentations on those compositions over here. So make sure you have enough reference to guide you to develop this kind of perspective there, okay? Otherwise, there's a lot of way for you guys to execute there, right? Okay, there's a lot of way there, okay? Because remember what I've actually show you guys, okay, on how to create these compositions, like some of the animation, like that. What we call that? The gobelins, right? Okay, they have a few different kind of way of presenting the locations, okay, on the established shot, right? It doesn't have to be the perspective, okay. It has to be in the proper way, so that we can actually execute in different kind of way, just to make believe, okay, this is the art style that you want to present there, right? But of course, just like what we actually have been give you guys before, is you have to test first, you have to experiment those kind of stuff there, right? Okay, don't just wait there, right? Okay, because when you actually start to when you start to design those background, okay, you will find some of the possibility or difficulty or challenge from that kind of process there, that you might going to see other kind of options later on if you actually seek for more kind of ideas from there. But if you don't, if you just wait, okay, for a week to complete some of the experiment on the backgrounds, okay, or you don't actually compose the whole compositions basically, okay, in one single kind of still images, there will be a lot of kind of what we call it off from the timeline that you want to plan there, right? Okay, so hopefully you can actually work from there for next week, right? Okay, we can present a bit more like animatics, the proper kind of backgrounds they may be, even though you don't actually add some details, but you, if you can show one of the concept presentation on your background with the characters involved, it's more better lah. So we can see, okay, this is the art style that you want to produce there, right? Okay, you can see from there. So the locations, right? If you want to take the same kind of locations that you have experienced before in your hometown or whatever that place that you see quite suitable, you can actually improvise from there, right? Up to you there, right? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Martin, how's it?
Yeah, I think you kind of like complete all the okay. I mean, most important is that Wenjun, do you have any reference?
Reference that
Mm.
I actually got lah, but the art style is different because I changed the art style to my own. Like this one, like got short one. My reference is like Usain Bolt. Got one animation. Let me search.
Okay.
Boy.
Okay, remember, okay, when you present your work, okay, make sure you add also some of your influence, your reference there, okay, so we actually can see there, okay, your directions of your works on it, even though it doesn't look right, it doesn't look the same there, right? Okay.
Yeah, this is the one.
Okay. So this is the one, all right, okay.
Yeah, my reference. But the whole scene is like totally different because this one is like located in Africa. Mine is like in Malaysia.
A boy who learned to fly there, right? Is there animation here?
Nah, this is the name. It's
Okay.
about Usain Bolt.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking to the animations here. Right.
Okay.
The animations is around 5 minutes there, right?
Yeah, only 5 minutes.
This one they're using 3D there, right, to works. Right. Yeah, you can see that, okay, they emphasize on the characters there. Right, they emphasize a lot on the characters itself, the boy characters there. If you can manage to see it, okay, in 30 seconds, okay, from the starting into last few scenes there, how long does it take there? How much time they spend to show the character kind of personalities from there? 30 seconds is not that long, you know, but you have to be smart to play with the scene itself. As I told you guys before, one of the reason as we actually, right, me and Mr. Martin has decided to cut around, I think around more than 70%, right, okay, from the normal kind of presentation of the student from 3 to 5 minutes into this kind of seconds, because you have to remember, right, okay, I already told you guys also before this, right, okay, in 30 seconds we can see the whole kind of presentation, what you actually can show on the cinematographies and animations, right, okay, at the same time, right? You don't have to see 5 minutes, okay, to tell the student really have understand what we learn or not. Okay? In few seconds also we can see whether you really execute in the right way what you guys have been gained for the past of the session that you have there, right? Okay. So remember that 30 seconds, right? Okay. If you actually go when you watch animation directly, okay, let me share my screen, okay, from
Sure.
this presentations here. Okay. So you can see my screen there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you count down basically, right, okay, from 17, right, until at least 45 seconds there, right? Each shot, each scene that they portray, right?
Mm.
When the boy actually walking around or okay, jumping from the houses around 4 seconds there. If you calculate all this kind of timing when you watch the animations, you know basically how much time that you spend for each scene, right, to animate the characters there and to give more impact on the presentation. You can see right, the whole scene and the whole shots, it show all the cinematographic element from there, right? This is the around right 52 seconds there, right? The running scene, how long is it? Let me check back again. One, two, three, four, 5 seconds there, okay, to show that kind of establish on the camera pan, right? Okay, motion from there, right? Okay, so when you study other people animation, study also the timing, how much timing they put the efforts to visualize those scenes there. That's how actually you can learn also from other people's kind of works other than just styles of story directly or some of the execution on the motion itself there, right? So learn from that, right? Okay, that's how actually you can manage them back. Otherwise, okay, you always think on your kind of limitations only, but you're not actually applying from what you've seen there. Okay? A lot of people always seen on the overall kind of surface there. Okay, they're looking at the surface. Okay, okay, the animation look nice, the graphic also look nice, but they don't actually even have the efforts to be more specific, more detailed. Okay, when they study the timing. Okay, what are the compositions and the motions that give impact for every single scene there. Okay, they won't actually be able to study them there. Okay, so if you can actually make your own time to study, right, each every scene, okay, how long does it take to animate all these kind of scenes there, right? So you can apply back again to your kind of presentations. That's how actually we can go from there, right? So that's what the reference is all about, right? Some people sometimes they try to be cheat a little bit. They just copy each single kind of motions from that scene into their own works. It can be, but in the right way, right? In the right way there, okay? For example, I just give you guys some tips over here just to work around because for me, in any kind of projects of work, okay, you can copy some of the scenes, but you have to apply in your own way. For example, okay, this particular scene there, okay, some of the feeling language, I believe, if you actually draw the character from right to left side, it shows a bit kind of he actually look into the memories, back into the memories, right? Maybe the right, I don't know, right? Maybe Mr. Martin can actually explain a bit more from there. But you change back again, right? Okay? Because he want to develop a future kind of him, right, okay, to become an athlete, right, okay? So you make it the boy running from left to right, right, okay, for example there, right, change back basically the positions, and you work with your own kind of way of animate them back, right? It can be like that, right? So this that's a reference is all about, okay? We can actually gain more understanding from what we've seen and we apply in our own way and hopefully can become more better there, right, okay? In terms of graphic styles, you stick with your own styles, but you develop your own kind of way that can be more in line with your work, right? Okay, those are the things, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Nice. So,
Thank you, sir.
okay, Wenjun, you say your character
Great.
design. I remember you say is not referring to this, but a different style, isn't it? The different
Yeah.
stroke. Do you have the reference?
No. This one all based on mine.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I think before last but not least, Elfie, do you have any reference? Sure. So we can know what sort of like,
Yeah.
art direction that you are aiming at, Elfie?
Yep.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. You have a certain kind of style, so it's good, right? Okay, that you can actually refer to. You want to show us, Alfie?
Huh?
You want to show the reference,
Oh, all right.
What are you doing? We are waiting for you.
Waiting for you, right?
Wait, can you see the screen?
Wait up, can't, all right? You can see the screen there.
Hmm?
Okay.
Amazing Gumball. Do you see that?
Okay. Yeah.
So
So
basically,
this is one of your references.
my character is developed from this kind of style.
Okay, this is for your character. How about the world design? The overall cinematography background.
The word design is inside where oops.
And the other, have you seen basically the Kit Botowski
No.
kind of animations? Because when I actually write,
Wait,
when I saw your kind of storyline, I kind of can relate it with this one directly. I will share you.
all right.
Okay. Link. Yeah. Kit Botowski there, right? Okay. Kit Botowski there. Because this animated Kit Botowski basically based on the extreme games kind of characters. Okay. That's why I related to those not the styles, but the related to the concept of the extreme game kind of characters there.
Oh yeah, I remember this animation.
Right. So it's good if you have a few number kind of reference before you basically decide, right, okay, to use it. Because if you take a look at that gumball characters, right, okay, they use a lot of basic principle kind of shapes there, right, okay, and the characters also look a little bit kind of dynamic kind of approach there, right, okay, on the works there. That's why you have to go through with that carefully when you design that. And of course, right, and of course, when you take a look at your reference here and the backgrounds there, right, okay, it's kind of like off from what you should actually apply there, right, okay. So make sure that you can get a more realistic kind of way to work with your background later on, right, okay, your background art styles there, right, okay. For me, if you can't actually use don't have enough kind of skill to develop a very proper kind of perspective on your design, just make it up there, right? Okay, because as animators, as the visualizers there, okay, we're not actually architect kind of students there, right? Okay, we cannot actually write. We don't work with a logic sometimes, but we have to make believe lah, right? Okay, whether right the composition is look like right, but it's basically it's not there, right? Okay, because we playing with some sort of illusion from there, right? So the way you're going to apply the illusion that play tricks with other people's eyes is depend on creativities there. But if you actually refer with a lot of animations, right? Basically, they play with this kind of illusions there only, right? They play with a lot of illusions there. So it doesn't look basically look proper there, right? Okay? If you look at the intro that I actually showed there, okay, most of the perspective is like make believe only there. It's not that quite right. Okay, those are the great things about animations here, right? Okay, other than if you look at the like Hayao Miyazaki, Ghibli Studio, what we call that, most of the great Japanese anime stars, okay, they basically have a very high skills there, right? Okay, so most of people actually want to become animators or animation kind of, okay, they thought that they want to do these kind of things there, but it's all depending there, okay, and how much sacrifice you want to take, okay, your times to work on that. If you don't have that kind of willing to animate or to work with that kind of detailing there, okay, so try to find a bit more reasonable kind of way for you to execute and still look presentable. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And most of the locations, I think, is not in Malaysia. There, right? It doesn't relying basically, right, on the location that you want to use. Okay, not closest to you. There. This is also something that kind of like I don't say it's wrong, but sometimes when you look at Doraemon, for example, right? Doraemon, Crayon
Yeah.
Shin-chan, can you see how they portray the locations there? Is you can see basically that basically a Japanese kind of environment there, Japanese kind of housing areas there, right? Right?
Yeah.
It really look close to them there, right? Okay? This is the thing that sometimes we doesn't actually pay a lot of attention when we come to design our environment there. We always look into other places there, but we're not relying on our own kind of identity there, right? Okay? Even though the characters is can be in any kind of forms that you want that, okay? But the identity that you bring that closest to you, right? Okay? It will help you to give more kind of feelings that you can attach with your works together there, right? Okay? Unless let's just say you already go to this place, for example, like right,
Yeah.
and you kind of like feel attachment with it, right? Okay? So whatever that design that you want to produce in environment, for example, you will go into that kind of particular kind of styles there, or images that you have in mind. It's okay. But if you think that you just saw them because it's the right compositions, but it doesn't attach closer to your mind or to your heart, right? Okay, or to your identity, is okay. Try to improvise back, lah. Because I believe if you go outside to your house, right? Okay, there's a lot of places that you can illustrate or visualize them back in your own way to make sure that you really attached with your surrounding, with yourself there, right? So those are the things there, because I believe there is a playground also at your homes, for example, right? Okay? There's also some of the mountains that may be, right? Okay? All these kind of stories, all this kind of attachment that you have, if you can relate to what you have been through before, right? Okay, like you playing with this kind of what we call that bicycle up in the hills, right? Okay? Even though the location is not quite interesting, it's our job to make it more interesting, lah, at least, right?
All right.
Right. To visualize to you there, okay? Like some of the scenes from the movie, maybe, right? Okay, like I saw some of the like the old movies like Goonies from Steven Spielberg there, okay? They have some of the scene from the kids kind of scene there, okay, that can be used. I don't know, okay, because all these kind of influence, it can be came from any kind of areas that we have seen before, right? Okay. Other than we just seek for new things, sometimes we can actually relate back again to what we actually experienced there. Those are one of the best things that you can actually playing around there, right? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Last thing is like, other than the choice of the backdrop, right? I'm thinking, what do you think, Mr. Faisal? His character, would he going to match with the background that he proposed?
That's why, okay. That's what I actually have mentioned before there, okay. For Elfie,
Yeah.
we don't see that kind of connections yet directly. So we don't see any kind of concept presentation or the whole kind of visual for your characters and backgrounds together there. So I would say that from that character that you've been working on, make sure you refine them back based on that character style there, and then do a bit kind of pose that related to the scene, right? Okay, and then you compose with the right kind of art style for the background there. Okay, don't just use one only there. Okay, try to seek at least three different kind of art style based on the same background that you actually have portrayed on your stories. That will give more kind of direction for you later on to decide there. Okay, I think you can work on that. Okay, those kind of things can be worked in 1 day or 2 days there. Okay, if you actually can focus there. Right. Normally, what I've actually experienced, I will work the entire kind of things that I actually suggest to you right now in 1 day directly. So I try to seek more to do because you guys actually have the directions right now. You have the starting point how actually you're going to execute them, okay? But you just have to improvise them. A lot of people doesn't actually keen enough to work towards what they actually have been produced. Where they cannot actually find the solution, sometimes they totally change. Those are the worst thing happens a lot of things from the newcomers there, okay, that I can actually can share there, okay. They don't keen to go into deep from what they have actually been produced there, right? We actually create a problem there, right? But we also have to learn to solve back again our own problems there. So the solutions can be came in various type of way. It's all matter of you want to do it or not, okay? Yeah, you want to seek or not from there. But we actually give you guys some direction from there where you're going to go, okay? But the problem is you won't be able to improve or to work towards from that kind of thing that you don't focus there, okay? Right? Believe me, okay, you can actually work on that, right? Okay? Whatever that you have produced, it's a matter of try to work from there, try to refine them back there, okay? When I saw your sketches, I can do a lot of things from there if I want to, but there's no point. They're going to be my works, it's not yours there, right? But I will show you guys also today how to execute in the first phase, and then you can add more details later on if you want to. There's a lot of execution that you want to apply directly. It's up to you there, okay? Right?
All
And
right.
each one of you guys. You just have to work with it because you already have the guideline for the visuals there. You just have to improvise and see whether it works or not.
All right.
Right. So
Hello. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think we have a lot of feedback and suggestion from Mr. Faisal. So now I think the weekend we can target it on
yep.
to prepare. Most important is the animatics. Yeah. On Tuesday, right? And
Mm-hmm.
on Wednesday, is it Tuesday or Wednesday when you see Mr.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
On Tuesday.
Yeah. And then we can continue to work from there.
Yep.
Yeah. Is
And
that okay?
don't forget about the concept illustration for your characters and the background. At
Yeah.
least one of them, okay? If you can produce three, it's more better because if you give some options for you, not only for us, right, okay, it will be more kind of confidence for you to work later on, okay?
You mean like improvise like their pattern, like their facial expression, something like that lah.
That one basically is one of the criteria that you want to prepare for the characters there. Okay, let me share the okay. This is what I actually have shown you guys. That's not there, right?
Yeah.
See the screen there, right? So
Yeah.
Mr. Martin also can see the screen there.
Yep. Yep.
So this is basically one of the simplest way for you to execute based on your scene. Right, using Photoshop and the characters from Flash, basically, I have refined basically again the characters there. So we can see the whole composition from here, right? Okay? So from what basically you should produce there, okay? I did also share with you guys before, okay, when I actually want to animate or want to work with that characters there, I already have a few number kind of what we call that kind of characters, motions there, post there, basically we can use from there directly. I don't know whether you guys have been working or not from what you have been produced, okay? When I actually want to animate or design the characters, like I already give my kind of what we call that planning there, okay? When I design, I already draw a few kind of action posts from here. I don't know whether you guys practice or not. The point is the problem sometimes that we have, you don't actually practice that kind of discipline here. Even though I already show you guys that how it works. You always wait there, okay? You just design one or two single kind of characters there, and you wait there only there. Okay, you don't actually work with that characters there. That's basically a lot of what we call that problem that we have with a lot of people, right? Okay, basically, okay, they don't actually test the animations there. Okay? This is basically it's not a proper animations, but I test all this kind of animation based on my kind of action, kind of pose that I actually draw. Okay, when I work with the characters there first. Okay, this is basically the process that you always what we call that take for granted there. Okay, you don't actually put yourself in the right kind of matter of positions there because everything we show visually, not writtenly there. Okay, but you don't take that kind of it's quite an important way for you to work with the characters there. That's why you kind of uh, have lost basically with your own kind of design there. Okay, you kind of basically like doesn't actually even know how to work back again to your characters there because of you don't actually work together with your characters there. You don't actually try to understand your own kind of creations. Those are the things that happens there. Okay, when I actually animate this one there, right? Okay, I test the animations here first, right? So even though the characters is quite simple, but I try to manage to work, okay, to the exaggeration there, how far I can animate these characters there, right? How far I can actually play with the characters all the time. I always told you guys all this kind of stuff there, okay, to make sure that, oh, you can actually do this kind of thing with the characters there. Even though a very simple animations like this one there, right? Very simple animation like this one, okay? You don't even ever try to test it, right? Okay? 7 days a week, what do you guys do? Other than playing games, watch movies, do some assignments there. How about the characters itself? Did you actually work with the characters there? Learn to understand your characters there, right? Okay? As I mentioned before, basically in our class, right? Okay? The character is a part of our playground there, okay? Uh, and also like there's a connection between your characters and also yourself there as a creative there. So if you don't understand how to work with your kind of characters, it's just like you don't actually create
Hello.
a right kind of
Yes.
relationship there, okay?
And I'm a
Relationship with your characters here. Okay, create a very like a very close kind of relationship with your characters there. Then you can see the possibility that you can do from here there, okay? That's why, as I mentioned, okay, whatever that you need to do, you should do right now. You have to take notes on that, okay? From the expressions, from the background design there, okay, that actually can be composed together there, okay? And also the test animation itself, okay, walk cycle, run cycle there. Have you done that kind of character there? But like when June basically, I believe he using the same characters for my animation classes. So those are the smartest way there. Like
Yep.
Jonathan and also Alfie, I don't know, right? I think you using the different characters there, right? So that's why if you create different characters, right? Okay, you kind of have to go back into the same process, the earlier process there. You can actually skip the process right in order to develop your understanding from there. All right. So you have
All
to
right.
take note, okay, what are the things that I have to do there, okay? I already show you guys there, okay? From designing the characters, test the characters, mm, animate the characters, and then you create some backgrounds to compose with the characters itself there, right? And then you start to test the animations back again, right? Even though the animatics there, refine the characters there, okay? To make sure that every single pose, even though we exaggerate them, but even though we create the different kind of proportions there, okay, they will still look exaggerate but not off from the value of those characters itself there. It doesn't change the characters there. It's still the same characters, but in terms of animate, we actually exaggerate the motion. It's not when the characters walking, it doesn't look like a chat already there, okay? So those kind of things, you have to take those considerations there, right, to work on that. All right.
All right.
So hopefully you can gain something from here, okay? Hopefully you guys learn something from here. Thank you very much there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Okay, Mr. Martin, thank you very much for joining us, right? And also invite me to the presentation at the same time, right? To join you guys there. Right. So see you guys there next week, and all the best, and
Thank
good
you,
luck there,
sir.
right? You're welcome there.